welcome back. We are back yet again for episode 21.
Feels like just seconds have passed since we last recorded.
Seconds have passed since we last tried to record. And this is as far as we made it last time.
Woo!
All
okay,
right.
That's good for today. See you guys. Thank you for joining us.
we know it's
Only
been a
gonna go
month,
downhill
but
from
this
here.
is all we got for you. We are back. It is me, one half of the Cinnamon.
The best half.
The least pretty half of the Cinnamon Seed. And I am joined by who?
No idea. I have no idea anymore. It has been a long flipping month.
Jackie
but it's
Chan. Who am I?
Oh, to only be as cool as Jackie Chan. It's Douglas. How you doing, everybody?
How are y'all out there in the world of film? Hopefully you've been watching some good stuff. Speaking of watching good stuff, do you want to roll right? Do we have any pre-show banter, or do you want to roll right into?
We have a big topic for today, if only because we've got more to discuss. So I do want to mention a few things, just in terms of pre-show banter. But I don't need to get into the deep well of it. Since we last saw each other, I've seen a few films, not as many as I normally would have. Things have been a little nuts around the homestead. But I finally saw The Secret Life of Pets 2.
Yes.
And it was definitely a second film.
Okay, yeah, that's what I've heard.
My problem with the first one is that it was a short film, a series of short films put together to make a longer one that I could have done without, and particularly Snowball.
Yeah.
I like Kevin Hart in certain roles. And Secret Life of Pets 2 was just more of the same. And I'm pretty sure Harrison Ford, they didn't even give him a script. They were just react naturally. And he played this sort of gruff older dog that was like, "You're an idiot. You're an idiot.
Yeah.
You're stupid." And I was like, "Oh," I just looked at Crystal and went, "Oh,
Yeah, that's Harrison Ford.
It's Harrison Ford."
Yeah.
They didn't even give him lines.
The dog
he
said,
just
"I
improv
didn't
it all.
kill my wife.
I was.
It belongs when you
It's the
see
three-legged
him."
dog.
Of course, it was.
Anyway.
He lost the fourth leg in a plane accident.
I saw The Lion King, and it was fine. It was fine. It wasn't the worst thing that I'd seen. It certainly had stuff that it was trying to do, technologically impressive. Finding out that they did all of it using VR headsets.
Right.
There's one real cinematic
Real shot in the movie. Yep.
It's the first shot in the film.
I didn't realize it was the first shot.
The sunrise.
Yeah.
That is the only real shot in the whole movie.
I'm pretty sure there was a couple of sunrises in there. I was like, "That's a sunrise. It's real or is it not real?" Yeah, it's the not real is good enough that I'm questioning. Like, there's a real shot in here somewhere, and I couldn't quite find it. So I guess good on them. Does that technically make it live action?
It's not live action. It's not live action. It's photorealistic. That was the big problem. Is there's so many live action remakes of the animated ones that people talked about this one as a live action remake until we started to find out how they made it, and then it's a photorealistic.
So that
remake.
one live action shot does not pull it into the live action category.
Heck no.
Okay, then, cool.
Heck no.
All right, then.
It was all done in VR, which is impressive, but it also explains why some stuff didn't feel right to me. In addition to a few other issues that we don't need to get into. I saw Little Monsters, which is now screening on Hulu, and Lupita Nyong'o just elevates everything she's in. She is so good in this, and it's not a great film. Okay. It made Crystal angry to watch it, and I have no problem with her complaints. It's the lead. Oh God, Shaun of the Dead has a lead that sort of hasn't really grown up.
Hasn't progressed in life. Really.
Yeah, hasn't really matured. And this Little Monsters has that, but this you don't root for him. At least Sean had something about the character that you were rooting for, and this character doesn't. However, the last 30 minutes are really strong, which redeems everything else enough to go, okay, I didn't waste my time fully. She's amazing, but the rest of it I could give or take. Knock Down the House, I watched that documentary about the four women running for Congress. And Ocasio-Cortez won. She was the only one, I believe, to have won. Watch Joker. That was a film.
Yep.
Missing Link, which was entertaining, and I think Annapurna is putting up for animated feature.
Isn't Annapurna closing as a studio?
There was some talk about that, but I think the father of the CEO, because I think it's family run.
Mr. Perna himself.
I think they sort of bailed it out so that they could keep doing stuff. Which
good.
Annapurna releases some great films.
Yeah, they do.
And in particular, Booksmart was one of their best films from this year that I've seen. And the fact that didn't get enough talk goes into, and I'm not getting into the whole Scorsese, everybody, old guard versus MCU, because they're all movies, people. They have opinions. They were asked an opinion. They gave it. But they do make a big point, which is you've got all these big tentpole films, and they push out a lot of the other smaller releases. Booksmart didn't have to make a lot of money to make its budget and to be considered a success. In the same way, Spider-Verse didn't have to do that. But not enough people saw Booksmart because it was in larger cities and not enough smaller cities and wide release. And it was a great film from Annapurna, and I don't know if it helped him out at all.
Yeah.
So, which is a shame. But a couple films I do want to at least mention. Toy Story 4 is out on home video. I saw Toy Story 3 about a month before 4, having heard so much, and it was so amazing. And I was like, it was okay.
Yeah.
Toy Story 4 is fantastic.
There you go.
Have you seen it?
Nope.
Recommend it.
All right.
Recommend it. Even if you haven't seen 3, 4 to me is a better ending to the series than 3 was.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I thought it closed out a lot of narrative loops, if you will, and leaves the characters with a much better open ending, but still feeling like a conclusion. Paradise Hills is in select theaters now on digital and VOD on November 1st, this coming Friday. It's directed by Alice Waddington, or Waddington. I'm not entirely sure on the articulation of that one. But she's a first-time feature director. She's done 2 shorts. This film, she came up with the story along with another writer whose name I forgot to write down, and I apologize. But it was co-written by Nacho Villagando. If you're familiar with him, he did Colossal. Loved Colossal, so now follow him just about anywhere. And Brian DeLeeuw. It's capital D-E, capital L-E-E-U-W.
Not going to bother to try.
Not even going to try.
Not even going to try it.
But Paradise Hills is fantastic. It's a dystopian film, dystopian future, where there's the upper and the lower. And the upper folks are very wealthy, and our lead, she's just not behaving like an upper should, so her mom sends her off to Paradise Hills for reprogramming. But the way that it's executed, it uses a lot of fairy tale tropes and gender-based tropes to sort of dismantle them at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of wonderful, and highly recommend that. Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. F all of you people that saw this movie and didn't tell me how awesome it was.
I'm pretty sure Public had a thread all about how awesome it was, sir.
Well, I hadn't seen it, so I didn't want to read the discussion thread.
Okay.
But no one took me aside and went, you must watch this. Put it in your eyeballs now. So I'm telling all of you that haven't seen this, if you grew up watching the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, the original cartoon, if you've read any of the comic books, if you've watched any of the other series, you must see this film. It is not for little kids. It earns the PG-13 rating. There's blood. There's violence. They are this as a series of characters. They're a little bit more like their original black and white comic book counterparts.
Right.
But the visual references, the dialogue, there's so many wonderful, rich things that happen in this film. I can't wait to watch it again.
Okay.
So I am disappointed in all of you for not telling me about it. So those are the big ones. The last thing I want to mention, Wizard of Oz, for anybody that was big into The Wizard of Oz, is finally getting a 4K remaster on October 29th.
Yes, it was in theaters yesterday.
It's in theaters from the 25th, I think, of October until the 31st with this remaster. And it's from the original negative. And the person that did the remaster has been working on every re-release of the film for the last 20 years.
And he's like, I got this shit.
She.
I like it.
Yes. I meant to write down her name and I forgot, so I apologize. It'll be in my review that's probably coming up on Tuesday the 25th when it hits shelves. But all the bonus features are apparently they've been released before. Everything that's in there, the 1990 CBS special and a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, okay.
But the whole reason why you want this is for the remaster. It looks gorgeous. I actually, that feeling they want you to have when they open up the door after that.
Black and white to color.
Yeah, it just hits you.
For those of you listening, it's the cha-ching part of Dark Side of the Moon when that door opens if you've timed it correctly.
There you go. And I knew that this is where the Technicolor comes in. But it absolutely does look gorgeous. Now, I will caution you, there are things that with some remasters, you will start to notice.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of remastered old movies.
Oh, the Tin Man, he looks great, but in this sequence, I don't know if that's really a medal or just painted silver.
Yeah.
And
old
Margaret
cheats.
Hamilton, she got injured
Yes.
in one of the sequences. She got burned on her face and apparently on one of her hands. And so there's some of the makeup looks more yellow and brown than just that green that you're used to. And I can't tell if that's the remaster or if it was always there. But the big thing for me was I always in my head I'm imagining in Kansas was black and white. Here it looks like a rusty red.
That's weird.
Yeah, but it actually really works for it because it feels like that sort of Dust Bowl.
Yeah.
The everything's broken down and this is the drab reality. But then you go in. So that was something where my brain couldn't figure out, am I remembering it wrong? In the same way that we remember I'll Miss You Most of All, Scarecrow.
Yeah.
That's not how that line is delivered, but that's how we remember it. So this 4K remaster, if you love the film or if you haven't upgraded, this is definitely worth it.
Yeah, I think I just have it on DVD. So it's time to bump it on up, man. Wizard of Oz Strange has come close twice to making a list of mine whenever we do this, and it just got bumped off for something else.
Well, it looks gorgeous.
Sorry,
so.
Frank Baum.
It's okay. I'm sure they've got plenty of money at this point.
Sure, they got plenty of money.
They've been putting this film out for years. It's always an event. So.
I will apologize to Judy Garland by way of Renee Zellweger.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. So what about you? Anything worth mentioning?
I'll watch a couple things. Joker. Saw it. I don't think I'll need to see it again anytime soon.
Did you see the thing I put up in Paprika yesterday?
What thing is that?
Okay, somebody took the dancing sequence of him on the steps in the Bronx, but switched the audio with the Cialis commercial.
Oh, yes, I did see that.
It is brilliant.
It's so ridiculous.
It is perfect.
So ridiculous. I saw Gemini Man.
Enough to see it twice?
No. Well, I mean, what? Stop. Stop. Yeah, it was. You can tell it was a '90s script.
Okay.
Despite their best efforts to update and modernize, it reads like a '90s action film, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No.
Where action films have evolved since then, so it was kind of nice. It was like, oh man, this kind of harkens back to 20 years prior. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It's almost like a weird period piece in a way, but it's not an actual period piece, nor was it actually filmed in that time. It's just kind of it just glows with 90s. I'm not sure what it is, but Marvel, Disney, whatever you want to call it, has the lock on de-aging done right. There's still a little bit of wonkiness to be had there. The young Will Smith, there's a whole fight sequence that's down in like underneath like a bridge, like a little catacomb.
It's a crypt or something from the trailer.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was done on purpose to kind of obscure so they wouldn't have to work as hard during the action scenes there. But there also is one in broad daylight, or they're like, one in broad daylight wore us out. Let's make sure that we're rendering this next one. Let's put it somewhere in the shadows. But the story is fairly formulaic. I think there's an opportunity to, because it's a guy who was cloned off of Will Smith without Will Smith's knowledge. I think there's a better story that lies in there in the ethics of doing that. I think that would have made a better story, but
sort of in an iRobot kind of way.
Sort of, which I guess might have been a little bit cheesy because Will Smith starred in iRobot, so it kind of would have been like he's doing the same story again in a different format. Clive Owen as the villain is incredibly one note. I don't know what happened to Clive Owen, man. Dude was it for like a minute and a half, and then I just haven't seen him in anything great since like Children of Men. He's horrible in Valerian. He was not great in this. I'm not sure if he's just not picking great roles, or man, fire your agent, Clive. Hire me. I got you, buddy. Yeah, it's good for one watch, like on a Saturday afternoon and nothing else is on. You're like, oh, Gemini Man. Let's check out Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I need to see more of her shooting guns and things.
You will in February. She's in Birds of Prey.
That is right. She is in Birds of
I
Prey.
forget who she's playing, but she's in it.
I keep forgetting that movie's coming out. Yeah. Good stuff. All good stuff. And then it's always nice to see Fathead Benedict Wong popping up and stuff with his, he is great for one-liners. Like that is what he does best. That's what he does as Wong. That's what he does here. I've seen him doing a couple other things as well. He has a short role in Kick-Ass 2 as well. Yeah. It's a Saturday afternoon joint. Yeah, you can check it out on Netflix when it comes, or whatever streaming service it might go to. I saw the documentary QT8, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was a blast if you're a Tarantino fan. Okay. If you're not, why are you watching this in the first place? It doesn't talk hardly about Quentin at all. It's just dissects movie by movie by movie. It's called QT8, the first 8. And then at the very end, there's, a little bit of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood there.
Still need to see that.
It's, you still see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I don't have a lot of time now.
Okay.
I got sick. I bought a ticket. I got sick. I couldn't get to the theater, and it's hard to make time for 3-hour movies.
Show up with a puke bag.
As we were just saying, well, no, it wasn't the puke bag. I just didn't want to be blowing my nose through it. And opening weekend, you're not going to do that.
Yeah, you just
I have more respect for
blow your nose and to the guy next to you, hold this for me.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that to people.
It's like 2 documentaries in one.
Really?
Well, kind of 2 back to back.
Gotcha.
They get done with all of that, and then there's maybe another extra like 25, 30 minutes of the fact that the filmmaker had to fight to put this out. So you get done with all the QT stuff, and then kind of transition to her having to fight through all of the Weinstein shit in order to. Because Harvey was going to put it out, and then they were going to shelve it, and then, she had to fight to get it away from them in order to put it out and all that kind of good stuff. And then that little bit ends with, and then I got to meet Quentin for the first time. And then it becomes a string of Michael Madsen, Tim Roth, like some of his producers and editors of all how they met QT for the first time. So you're like, I thought this fucking was done 30 minutes ago. And then it turns like it's a whole separate documentary. And they... Yeah, it's very, very cool, very cool. Whenever somebody pops up on the screen and has in the bottom corner like little symbols for all 8 of his films they're talking about, and then they would highlight which ones that they were specifically a part of, and either in the movie or behind the camera or producing, or the case may be. There is a weirdly humorous audio motif whenever. Weinstein is mentioned. They'd be like, I was there, and then Weinstein would just be like, bum bum, and you notice the first time you're like, huh, that's weird, and like 10 minutes later, and be like, and then Harvey walks in, bum bum, and you're like, and they build up to it, and then someone just says, someone who didn't want to say his name just goes, and he was there, and it goes bum bum, and the whole theater just busts out the laughter. It's very well done. I am hoping that it comes out on video somewhere. Because I immediately got done and wanted to rewatch it again, man. It's entertaining as shit to see one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, and kind of how the projects came together, all the happy accidents, all the I couldn't get you in this movie, but don't worry, I will get you in something. And, I'm pretty sure people in Hollywood hear that all the time. And he's always been true to his word. Robert Forster is supposed to play Lawrence Tierney's part in Reservoir Dogs. Joe, big gravel voice, the dude who brings the whole band together. He decided to go with Lawrence Tierney, and he's like, I'm going to get you with something, Robert. And Robert's like, yeah, okay. So he goes to the same restaurant like every other day, sits at the same booth, orders the same thing. That's just kind of his routine. So he walks in one day, and Quentin's just sitting at his spot waiting for him. And he's like, there's your script, let me know what you think. And he was like, I was sold on that man from then on out. So it's interesting to check out. And, noticeably absent, of course, Uma was not there. But they do touch on the whole car crash situation and all that kind of good stuff, and his associations.
Yeah, you can't ignore it.
Can't ignore it. But yeah, it's well worth the check out. I also watched the 3-hour-long Disney Plus announcement video. That's right, I watched all 3 hours of it.
Was it literally just a photo of here's the movie that we're putting up, here's the TV show?
It was clips.
Okay.
It was clips of stuff, and then depending on how popular it was, depending on how long the clip was. But no clip was longer than 25, 30 seconds.
That is a long time to watch an ad.
It is. They started from I don't know, whenever they came around, the 50s, whatever it was, and they just went year by year by year by year, all the way up to 2014. All decades of it, and I watched every little bit of that. Like, oh, I didn't know that was going to be on there. That's kind of cool. Oh, I always wanted to watch that. So it'll be interesting to see when, on November 12th, when Disney Plus drops. Yes, I took that day off work. A, because I got to watch The Mandalorian as soon as possible, and B, just kind of
the first episode of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, the first episode of The Mandalorian.
I am so glad that they're not putting them all out at once.
I'm so mad that they're not putting them all out at once. I would like to just be done with it and move on to something else,
and that's why they're not.
Yes, I move on to other things on their joint, but I guess it's all going to be there while I wait.
You'll watch the first episode, and then you'll be like, "Shit, now I'm in the mood for Star Wars." click.
I watched that first episode and be like, well, there's a million other things on here. Let's see what else they got. I'm always in the mood for Star Wars. That's nothing different. It was it's very interesting to see what all kinds of movies I get to check out on that streaming service on day one.
Right on.
I'm not leaving my bed that day.
There you go.
There you go.
Sounds like a good day.
Bed sores. All right, then. We ready to roll into our topic?
Let's do it.
Yikes.
Now,
Okay.
we're good. We're good. So, okay, it was my turn to come up with a topic, and this was I thought it would be fun. I knew it would be a challenge. It would be a challenge for me in particular because of the subject matter. I just didn't realize how challenging it would be. We are in 2019. We're at the end of the decade. You weren't? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ruin that for you.
I've been in
Spoilers.
2014 for years.
Spoilers are at the end of the year.
Right.
But it's 2019, and we're almost at the end of the decade. This show is, I imagine, going to come out by Halloween. So, of course, it seemed like a good time to discuss our favorite horror films of the decade.
Yeah.
And I thought this would be sort of fun to do. It would be a challenge for me because I'm not much into horror. I have too vivid of an imagination. This morning, the alarm went off, and I was trying to figure out if Crystal was still in bed, and I reached over and I felt something, so I was just, okay, she's still here. And I looked over, and I saw her sort of looking at me, and I thought it was weird that she was looking at me. And then I turned the light on, and she was gone, and it was just her pillow. This is... Hypogogia is a thing. It's why I watched Hereditary, and we've talked about it, and I went, no, this is...
None of that. No.
None of this is scary because I know what's happening here.
Yeah.
So I don't really do horror for reasons like that, and I have many stories of getting freaked out by things that aren't there. However, in the last few years, as I've been working on my writing, I've had to get into it. And so I thought, it'll be great. I could talk about these. And, right, this came out earlier in the decade. But really going through it, holy hell, the movies that have come out this year. Not just this year, but in the last decade. Because you've got everything from this year with Satanic Panic. You've got Slice. You've got Scout's Guide to the Apocalypse, Train to Busan, Colossal, The Girl with All the Gifts, Maggie, which if you haven't seen Maggie, holy shit, is that good. Maggie is the Abigail Breslin, Arnold Schwarzenegger zombie film, which is so good. So good. The Night Eats the World, Ghost Stories, Braid, The Forest of the Lost Souls, It 1 and 2, The Nun, the Annabelle series, which I guess The Nun is part of that. They Remain, Hereditary, The Witch, Happy Death Day, Mother, Tusk, Upgrade, Scream 4, It Follows, Under the Skin, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, Yoga Hosers, Crimson Peak, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and so many more.
None of those made my list.
Some of those made my list.
Already?
So, at least for myself...
Yeah, you did say a couple that made my list, not think about it.
For me, I'm listing mine by release date. I didn't pick this one's better than that one. I just narrowed mine down to
Thanks for
these
telling me
5.
that before I agonized over my list to figure out what goes in what place.
No problem. We've had different orders before. I couldn't decide. These are movies I think people should see. These are movies I think people should see. I could not put them in a list of, you do whatever you need to do. This was what I had to do. Because you won't let me have a 5-way tie for number 1.
No, I would not.
You're rude.
Number 1. What's next? Number 1.
So we'll go with my first of 5, released in April of 2012, The Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods.
Interesting.
Drew Goddard, directed, written by Joss Whedon and Drew. This was filmed before Thor came out, but due to issues got released after Thor, and definitely helped this film get an audience because people got to... This was, I think, Chris Hemsworth's first U.S. release, or close to. This was the big high-profile release.
Yeah,
but
we're not going to count Star Trek.
Yeah, because he was there, but nobody really knew who he was at that point. So I agree with you on that. But because Thor had come out, Cabin in the Woods was, Chris Hemsworth is in this movie.
This new hotness.
And as someone who still struggles with horror, I loved every inch of this film in the way that it totally screws with you all the way to the end. And it takes all these horror films that you've watched and suddenly makes them...
Turns them on their head a little bit.
It very much does.
Yeah.
And I love the scene where you see all the monsters and you almost freeze frame it and go, okay, that's from that movie. There's Hellraiser, and there's this, and there's that. And I love how thoughtful it is in terms of recognizing these other films and sort of using their mythology to springboard off of while also creating its own. And Sigourney Weaver just showing up and being like, you gotta die. Sorry.
The fact that I was very well informed of what Whedon could do. And I've seen Firefly, I've seen Serenity, and all that kind of good stuff. Obviously, Avengers. So, yeah, his chops, very known. I didn't see, I had heard about it, didn't see it until after I'd seen Bad Times at El Royale. So by then, I was very well aware of what Drew Goddard could do. And Bad Times probably made my top 10, not top 5, but top 10 list of, was that last year, right? Yeah. I think that was underappreciated. Not enough people saw that. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, these dudes coming together? Yeah, I'm all about a combination like that. And they delivered exactly how I would like them to deliver.
Right on.
I think balancing horror and comedy. A lot of movies these days are mashups of different genres, especially superhero movies and stuff like that. I think those are probably the two most difficult to balance out well. Not making sure you have too much of one or too much of the other, or not enough of both. That's. And I'm just keep talking about because it's also my number 5.
Oh, go for it! Yay!
Yeah, my number 5. So what's your number 4, sir?
Okay. Well, before we go any further,
your number 1.
Thank you. My 4th number 1, or my 2nd number 1.
Yeah.
But real quick, because I meant to mention this, you and I had a discussion about as we were coming up with these films. One thing we agreed upon was if a director had made more than one film in the decade, we would use only one film from that director's work, just to sort of keep things easy on us. But my second number 1 is Train to Busan, July of 2016 released. This is a film that I'd been hearing about for forever. And again, horror, I was like, I've heard really good things. I don't know if I can handle it. I had gotten it from Netflix, had watched about an hour of it when my wife went, hey, we need to run to Target. Do you want to go? And I'd been already working that morning. I needed to stretch my legs. So we went, and when I saw Train to Busan on the shelf, I bought it. I hadn't finished the movie. An hour in, I went, I need to have this at my fingertips for whenever I want to watch it. And I recently showed it to Crystal, and she was also equally impressed. Well, she was impressed, not as equally as me, because I'm still new, and she's like, yeah, they do this and this and this.
This happens in horror movies.
Yeah.
Douglas.
And I'm aware of that, but it was the execution of things. And certainly in my case, I prefer more often foreign films over U.S. films. American films have a tendency to over-explain or go for the happy ending, whereas foreign films are often, particularly Korean films, have a tendency to just go, this is how things are.
Yeah, I'm not that well versed in the horror genre. As a matter of fact, it's my least liked genre.
Gotcha.
I'll be so fucking glad when October's over.
That's how I used to feel.
Between this topic and doing 10 movies this month for refried scenes, I'm done with all things horror. But I totally do prefer foreign versions of horror to American remakes or just American horror in general.
Yeah.
They tend to keep it, no matter how supernatural or unrealistic, quote unquote, it is, the situation, how things are handled seems more real to me than American movies.
And very much focused on the people. And part of what makes Train to Busan work for me is that, yes, you're dealing with zombies, but it's how the people are dealing with the situation. And yeah, you've got the usual people that break, and you've got the psychos and da-da-da-da-da. But it's the way that the film is executed and the way that it continually increases tension, even as it is whittling down our leads, as often happens in zombie films. Or multiple at a time, whole train cabins at a time. But the way that they execute it is brilliant, and it is beautiful, and it is heartbreaking and absolutely wonderful.
Still haven't seen it.
Highly recommend.
A person who has been on a train to Busan, full of hungover people, I'm like, I already lived that movie.
No, I don't think you have, and I don't think you want to.
I don't think I would have lived if I was in that situation anyways.
Well, I would challenge you to watch it, but
you've seen enough. Live.
No. Yes, you've seen enough right now. I don't think I'll give you another one.
Seen more than enough. Yeah, so my number 4 is A Quiet Place.
Ooh.
Yes, yes. And a little John Krasinski, Emily Blunt action there. A little husband and wife business. I was not expecting. I don't think anybody was really expecting it. They're like, what, the gym, the goofy ass gym from The Office, dude? And I feel like this movie hit just before his Amazon series Jack Ryan hit.
This was after 13 Hours, so some people had seen him be a badass.
So yeah, some people seen him be a badass, and then this, and then Jack Ryan. I was like, oh, John Krasinski is the truth. Mm-hmm. I love just the concept of a horror movie where you cannot make a sound, let some ill shit go down, and how do you live like that? How do you work the dynamics? How does a person who already can't hear sound live in a place where nobody can make sound in the first place? Does that put her on equal footing with everybody else, or how do you deal with that? How do you work with that? I think there's an extra wrinkle in there that a less experienced writer would not have thought to throw in there. Mm-hmm. And it's just a damn good story, man. This is a damn good story. I do not need anything else in this universe. Unfortunately, when you make money, you get more stories in that universe. I don't need to know where they came from. I don't need to know what happens afterwards. This little slice, this little bit of reality here, I'm good with that.
I agree with you.
Great performances, man. Some great tension building. I think Emily Blunt handles the lion's share of that tension building between the giving birth in the tub and the stepping on that nail there, and the way they set up that nail for the payoff later on is wonderful. John Krasinski's the star of this. I think Emily Blunt puts in far more work in this movie than John Krasinski does. Those are also my candidates for Sue Storm and Reed Richards. So if you're listening, Marvel, get on that immediately.
I think Krasinski is the leading fan favorite for Mr. Fantastic.
To the point now where I was reading a comic. It came out there maybe a year ago, and I was like, oh, so we're just putting his face on Reed Richards now.
It worked for Nick Fury, so why the hell not?
Yeah. You're not wrong there. Mark Millar is famous for saying, yeah, I always put the famous people in my comic books, like, oh, hey, this character's interacting with Halle Berry in the comic book, just in case they make it to a movie, so I can meet Halle Berry. That was a specific example that he used. Yeah, but yeah, that man, Quiet Place. The only thing that I will have negative connotation for this movie is the woman 3 seats down opens a bag of pork rinds in the theater.
No.
So the whole theater is. And I was like, come on, lady. You're killing me. Masterclass in tension, I do believe that movie is. One of the more recent masterclasses in tension, I think. Yeah, good movie.
That one, similar to A Train to Busan, I didn't get to see it in theaters. I got sent a screener for it, and I was going, I've heard some good things. I'll put this on. I was riveted. Mm-hmm. And there's a scene with Krasinski towards the end of the film where he's talking to his daughter. It's a very tense situation. Mm-hmm. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but that sequence pops into my head every now and then.
Right.
And it just hurts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's something I would feel if I weren't a parent.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a sequence that just breaks my heart every time, over and over again. And when I finished that, I Crystal still hasn't seen it, but I went, well, it's on sale at Best Buy. Yoink! I'm gonna want to rewatch this and have my heart broken again and again. Yeah, it's fantastic. It was an absolute surprise.
Agreed. What is your number 1?
Well, you'll probably agree with this one on the list. This one was released in February of 2017. It was the directorial debut of
Jordan Peele.
I was going to say Nick Cage, but yes, it was Jordan Peele. It was Jordan Peele with Get Out.
Yeah.
Which is what you say to me every time I make a terrible joke.
Mm-hmm. I say it quite often.
This is a film that the first time I watched it, I didn't appreciate it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I gave it a 4 out of 5, but it's the rewatches that really highlight just how brilliant this film is. And I really enjoyed Us. In fact, on my first watch of Us, I liked that more than Get Out. However, Get Out is a film that works both as a metaphor as well as just a strong story.
Right.
So anything that you might want to discuss or analyze, there's an answer for in the text, as opposed to just, oh, well, it's a reference to this, or it's a metaphor for that, or, oh, you just have to go with it, which you do a lot of with us. But with Get Out, it is so brilliant and well acted and absolutely terrifying. I'm actually really glad that he didn't go with the original ending, where all of a sudden I can't remember the Daniel Kaluuya's character's name.
What is? Oh.
But where he doesn't survive,
Yeah.
where the cops show up and they shoot him.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that didn't happen.
That already happened in Night of the Living Dead.
Well, not only Night of the Living Dead, but real life. So and it's just happening so much. And I know that that's sort of where I drew inspiration from. But I think this ending that we got, the theatrical, it gives us the hope that we need. That this guy's been through so much, and you're dealing with a film that's dealing with cultural appropriation and overt as well as subtle racism,
right.
and we needed something joyful. And Little Rel, he's
out, man. Yeah, that dude.
He's so
TSA.
good.
Who knew TSA did so much for us?
The rescue!
Thank you, TSA, for all your hard work.
And it was just so good, and playing with the same tropes that Cabin in the Woods took advantage of. But Get Out is it's a film that I think about from time to time in terms of where we are cinematically and the use of storytelling tools and just how brilliant Jordan is.
Right.
Just truly how brilliant he is, which I think is part of the reason why people are so overly harsh with us, because it was his sophomore effort, and he came out swinging with Get Out.
Yeah, it was hard to top himself.
Yeah.
So less a sophomore slump and more of a you just knocked the ball out the park.
Yeah, the bar was too high.
Yeah.
The bar was too high.
It's like a grand slam at his first at-bat, and then the second at-bat is a good solid double. And they're like, well, it's no grand slam.
Or at least a triple.
Or at least a triple,
Yeah.
even. Else is very good.
We can't move on until I at least say the following. I would have voted for Get Out this year if I could.
Yeah.
I would have voted for it again.
It is. That's Bradley Whitford?
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? As devious as he is in that movie, I do like him in that movie.
Oh, they're all so good.
There's a couple of roles in there where there's roles in a lot of actors' oeuvre that I look at them and I'm like, I don't know if I can really trust you in real life. Allison Williams, if I ever bump into her on the street, I'm crossing the street.
Whereas Bradley Whitford,
I saw Get Out.
at least Bradley Whitford has done so many other things where you just get the sense you could walk by him on the street and you don't have to say anything. You can walk by and not be creeped out. But Allison Williams. It's like, peace. I'm going over there.
Quick, Uber, opposite direction. While you were talking, I realized that I don't know math or how to count, and then I started with my number 4. So I'm going to go back to my number 5 now.
Oh, okay. You know what? Order doesn't matter. Let's just talk about
him. One that really, really surprised me. I think it came out this year, last year. Escape Room.
That was this year.
That
January.
Was January. Yeah, the one of the rare January joints. That's actually good. January can be known as the death knell of some movies. Yeah,
I have feelings on this.
It's a thing. February was, but February's been creeping up hardcore lately. You're getting shit like The Panther. You're getting Us. I do Get Out was a February joint as well.
You just named 3 movies, all African American made and led, that came out in Black History Month.
Hey, we know what we're doing. Yeah, I was like, this is January. I don't know about this shit. But I really like the concept. I think escape rooms I don't think we as Americans definitely are not mentally tested enough. Escape rooms are great brain games. Great brain, and also great teamwork games, and a combination of teams using their brains to figure stuff out. I like logic puzzles and things like that. So escape rooms in themselves, fun, entertaining. And then you just take that premise and turn it into a horror joint where now you have to do this to survive. It's easy money. It's easy money. But still, I was like, I saw the previews and I was like, "Eesh, not a whole lot of recognizable leads in this joint." I think the most recognizable face is Deborah Ann Wall from the Daredevil run.
And she was in the vampire TV show.
True Blood.
True Blood, thank you.
And I was pleasantly surprised. I'm not sure. I still cannot differentiate if I was pleasantly surprised because I had such a low bar for it or just because it's just a solid flick. It's just a very solid movie. This group of people thrown into this situation, the circumstance, and they just gotta. It's two puzzles in one. They're figuring out a puzzle to save their life in this level right now. Also, while trying to figure out who all threw them into the situation and trying to figure out how do we get out of this whole thing alive, and then how do we figure out who's responsible for this.
Mr. Body. Mr. Body did it.
I watched Clue a couple days ago.
3 + 1 + 1 + 3. 2 + 1 + 3 + 1.
Tim Curry right there. and then, God, I love that movie.
Just having grown up with it, I still don't understand how that movie flopped. I feel like I would have shown up in that theater and just been blown away.
Yes.
But
I didn't see it until 6 years ago.
Total unrelated tangent. Totally unrelated, but it's so good.
I love Clue, and it is my favorite Tim Curry movie now. But yeah, it's escape room. If you're like me, guilty of saying January movies, don't know about it, give it a chance. Give it a chance. It's a good evening joint, man. Pop some popcorn, throw the kids to bed, sit down with a significant other or by yourself, and just munch away while you watch it, man. Have yourself have a drink right there by your side. You will enjoy this movie.
I wish we'd had this conversation sooner because I just had Escape Room from Netflix and we had it for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and hadn't had a chance to watch it. I literally sent it back yesterday. I've wanted to check it out, so now I'm upset. I kept Long Shot, which I still haven't watched.
Oh, you're doing a great job with that Netflix there.
Yeah, I am. I'm doing so good.
All right, then. Yeah, we got you got what, 2 left? 1 left?
2 left. 2 left. Mine is now from 2018. We're going to go all the way.
Oh, it's back to 2018?
September of 20. Hey, we started in 2011. Nice. 2012, excuse me. But mine is one that I absolutely love. I've only seen it once, unfortunately, time being what it is. But I revisited in my mind via the soundtrack by Johan Johansson. Johansson. May he rest in peace. Who did the score for this film. It is Panos Cosmatos' Mandy.
Oh, of course. Yes.
I love everything about the film. I love that in the first hour, you really it's this character study drama of these two broken people finding a home together, of living together, creating balance with each other. And that makes the horror of what happens to the two of them so absolutely painful. And just the way that it's shot, the way that it's put together, it is one of Nick Cage's, I think, best performances that I have ever seen. The cinematography is wonderful. The direction is fantastic. Everything about it, I just want to recommend to people. And we unfortunately had the terrible timing. Have you seen Mandy yet?
No.
Okay. We will fix that at some point. But there's a moment in the film where Nick Cage's Red has found some people and they have drugs and he's trying to figure stuff out and he ends up taking some. Well, right around the time that we get to this scene, we had to pause the movie because I forget what was happening with our dog. I think she was freaking out or something. We had to run her out. So we go and we take care of her and we come back and we hit on pause and Nick Cage's face just melts right off. Because it's the start of his drug trip.
That's wonderful.
We were just like, whoa. we were not prepared for that. But it is a powerful film about grief.
Okay.
And how we process it. And the thing that I think is wonderful about the horror genre is just that it's not about, oh, that scared me. That's how a lot of people look. Oh, Us isn't a horror movie because it didn't scare me. Well, horror isn't about trying to scare you. Horror is about using the things that might scare you, that make us uncomfortable and use them to analyze things. That's why you've got thrillers and chillers. You've got body horror, psychological horror. You've got
Supernatural, slashers, occult.
Exactly. You've got all of these things that are more often than not used to explore something.
Yeah.
And
The good ones anyways.
Very, very much so. And so with Mandy, it is about an exploration of grief. I do recommend.
The 21st episode of The Cinnamon. Somehow the 28th time Doug's put it on the list. He loves him some Mandy.
I do love Mandy.
Alrighty then. Which should be number 2. It's It Chapter 1.
Ooh, good call.
Yes. A very, very good joint. I was, again, not expecting what we got out of It Chapter 1. I was expecting, by the time we get to It Chapter 2, I kind of knew what we had going on. But what Annie Muschietti did with Chapter 1, it is not just a tale about some kids trying to beat a clown, obviously, a death clown. What we get, though, is the best of what Stephen King does in his stories. And no writer that I can think of off the top of my head knows how to deal with a group of children bonding than Stephen King does. You got this, you got Stand By Me, right? Dude knows what he's doing there. And I think they adapted that part of it very, very well.
Yeah.
Those kids, and the casting was excellent. Those kids gelled well, and I am looking forward to seeing what every single one of those kids does in other roles down the road. I think they all have. Obviously, Finn Wolfhard's the breakout star of that set.
Although he was a star before that.
He was a
thanks
star
to
before
Stranger
that,
Things.
yeah. And then the young woman who played Bev Marsh is also popping up in a lot of stuff here and there too.
Nancy Drew.
Yeah, she's gonna be the Nancy. Was that gonna be a series, right?
I think
movie?
they've made a series. Hers was a movie.
Okay, cool, dope. And then Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. that's some damn good casting because those Skarsgårds are some scary looking motherfuckers. It is a great story about friendship using the power. It really is as cliche as the power of friendship, right? But it's all in how you take that cliche and you make a good story out of it. And I think they managed to do that very well with It Chapter 1. It surprised me, and it's also very surprisingly funny. Just I think they really captured the essence of how the kids hang out and talk with each other. That's where most of your humor comes from, especially from Finn Wolfhard's character. Very well done, incredibly well done. 2, not quite as strong, but I'm not sure if it's not quite as strong as compared to how great 1 is, or it's just not a good or as strong film just by itself. But it had a large shadow to live up to.
Very much so. And the fact that it's this one, unlike the Kill Bill argument, which we won't get into.
Oh, if
with this
it's
one,
actually all one movie or not?
Yeah, with this one, I think you have to look at it as one film, where the first half is Chapter 1 and the second one is Chapter 2, because it's literally the same story broken up. With the original cast showing up in Chapter 2 to play the younger versions.
DH,
So-
by the way.
Yeah, I didn't even notice. Everybody was telling me that after I saw it, and I went, really?
Yeah.
I didn't notice. So maybe
They all hit,
WB's
some
got a thing.
crazy growth spurts in that time. They're like, they don't look like how they looked like 2 years ago, so we got to de-age them a little bit. But yeah, I didn't notice. So it might have been like little subtle things, not like an entire face like Will Smith or like Mike Douglas in Ant-Man. But yeah.
It's I would think of them as one film, but I do certainly want to revisit Chapter 2 because I too was underwhelmed by it. Whereas Chapter 1 on a rewatch, my anxiety went through the roof.
It's so good.
It is. And by the way, I have to mention this. When you talked about the power of friendship, I sort of got an Edgar Wright, Scott Pilgrim thing, and I was expecting a sword to pop out of your chest. The power of friendship.
Daryl has gained self-respect. Just kidding. No, I haven't. Yeah. It's now that I think 2 should be out on home video soon. I know you're the home video guy.
Digital November, forget when. I can look it up while you're doing your last one. And DVD is December, I believe.
Yeah, so I'm interested in watching both of them back to back as all one story.
Yeah.
To see how the whole thing plays out. Still haven't done that with Infinity War and Endgame yet. But I would like to see It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 as Doug pulls out the Elements of Madness phone.
Really had to go there, huh?
Yeah. Hey, man. Promote, push.
I'm so bad at it.
So yeah, check out It Chapter 1 if you haven't. If horror isn't even your thing, I'm going to go ahead and suggest that you take the L on this one, bite the pillow, and just watch the damn movie.
At least with chapter 1, you'll definitely be biting something. Criminy, that movie is creepy.
Yeah.
Digital is November 19th. 4K Blu-ray and DVD is December 10th.
There you go. December 10th. Pick up one or both of those joints if you haven't picked up one, and watch them all as one. And there you go. Be
Agreed.
Enhanced in your life.
Agreed.
What's your number one, Doug?
My number one comes from this year. It is...
Avengers Endgame.
No.
Oh, okay.
Nope. This one, just sort of springboarding off of Mandy. This is a film that was written and directed by a gentleman by the name of A.T. White. It was inspired by a loss that he suffered in his life. It is a film that was taken on a roadshow similar to what Tarantino did, but was done in a roadshow format before it was released digitally, and I believe is now streaming on Hulu. It is a film called Starfish.
Oh, yeah.
This is a film that is just... It mixes genres, it mixes styles of storytelling, where there's a extended animated sequence, straight up anime sequence. But it is about a woman whose friend commits suicide and how this woman deals with the loss of that friend. And she ends up going to that friend's house or her apartment, going to sleep, waking up, and finding that everything is covered in snow and the world is ending because of something that has arrived. And there's apparently a tape that she finds that has part of the answer to how to save the world. And so as the film goes on, it's told through the lens of her grief. Her world is essentially over because her friend is gone, and now literally the world is ending.
Yeah.
So what do we do in this circumstance? Do we come out of it? How do we come out of it if we come out of it? And the fact that this director uses light to help convey circumstances, whether things are safe or dangerous, the fact that the notion of reality and dream states sort of meld together. It is not a happy watch, certainly about as happy as Mandy. But whereas Mandy has that first hour where you're like, oh, this is really sweet and lovely and wonderful. And even though it's got demon bikers and stuff, cultists. And
they call those Ghost Riders.
It's all going to be bad. No, these are the people that Ghost Rider would totally screw, and then they'd be forever just fucked up and whatever.
Okay.
But in Starfish, there's these sort of almost, what was the Attack the Block? These are almost those types of creatures, and the threats that they pose shift. Their relationship to our lead shifts as the film goes on. I found it to be just a little heartbreaking, more than a little heartbreaking. And I still think about it quite a bit, and finding out that it is now more readily available to people to just put on, I cannot recommend it enough. This is one of my favorite films this year.
There you go. There you go. Dour Doug to the rescue.
Oh. You'll love it. Oh.
We've already discussed my number one. You discussed it a little bit ago. It's Get Out.
Oh.
It is Get Out. It's yeah, man. No one knew what this was going to be about, which is, I guess, the beauty of a first-time filmmaker. You don't know what they're going to be about or how their first story is going to be told. And boy, did he come out swinging.
Oof.
Yeah. Horror in every sense of, there is some legit scary-ish things that can happen. That's not the horror. The horror is there's certain circumstances in there that potentially could happen in real life. Hopefully there's nobody that's going that far. But yeah, these just the tenseness of being in situations where a lot of African American people have been in those situations. The reality is the horror. That's the whole thing about it. We talked about it. Kaluuya does a great deal. Small appearance by young Lakeith Stanfield or Stanfield. Lakeith Stanfield? I think Stanfield. Yes. Yeah. Who is, as far as I know, that's the only movie to his credit.
Period or at that point?
At that point.
Okay,
or period.
No.
Nope, haven't seen anything else with him in it.
Poor Stick.
Alice Williams puts in an incredible performance of of just pure innocence. Just pure innocence until she's not. Where the goddamn keys, Rose? There's. I'm not gonna say it's a flawless movie, but there's not a whole lot of kinks in that. No cracks in the cement of that, in the foundation of that story. Yeah. And I think he has many more stories to tell in the same vein, and I cannot wait to see. And it is a great balance of, for a little bit at times, of a little bit of levity, humor in there at times. That's what Rod's there for. Yeah. To the good horror movies give you that ebb and flow of they use laughter to break the tension, and then it's the build back up to tension. Something happens, a little bit of laughter, you're back down, you scale back up again. That's the ebb and flow of a good horror film. And he does that. He does that he handles both very deftly. Mm-hmm. I would like to know where the hell he learned how to do all this stuff.
Did you not watch Key and Peele?
I'm not sure. I wonder how heavily he was involved in the behind the camera process, because I know obviously the writing and the in front of the camera. Yeah. I'd like to know how much he was involved in the behind the cameras of because they use humor in a lot of different other genres. They use the other genres to do their humor as. Yeah. So especially action. They did a lot of weird humor action on that show. But yeah, I cannot wait to see what he comes out with next. It's not doing that Twilight Zone BS to get back to your own stuff.
I'm actually really surprised you went with Get Out. I was expecting you to bring up Annihilation.
See, I think we had this conversation, didn't we? For you, definitely see it as a horror. I
Body
see
horror.
As a science fiction with some horror elements in there. Is kind of how I see it.
So, do you see Event Horizon as a science fiction film with? It's a ship from hell
with some horror elements in there.
It's a blood orgy.
Well, you get those.
Yeah,
you get those sometimes.
You get those sometimes.
That's a Tuesday,
dude's
man.
teeth exploded. Never mind. I can't. That movie still freaks me out. I can't even think about it.
We got 3 minutes left, sir.
We do. So our challenges this week. Yours was a little more on point than in terms of the genre for topic. I gave you The Orphanage by J.A. Bayona, which sort of went nicely with the last challenge.
Yeah.
And you gave me Arc by Tony Elliott, the Netflix original.
Yeah, man.
So what do you think about yours?
I enjoyed the shit out of this movie. Yeah. I was like, oh, here we go, another horror movie. Fucking horror movies. It's less horror. Mm-hmm. No jump scares and like that. It's all in how you build and craft the tension.
Yeah.
And they do very, very well with the building and the crafting of that tension and how that all pays off. Finding out later on in the movie how things that were set up earlier come to pass. A lot of that incredibly acted. I need to see the mom, whose name I don't have in front of me. I'd like to see what else she's done. Like I said earlier in the show, foreign people know how to do horror inherently better than Americans. I do believe. I would suggest that to anybody who has not seen that movie. What about Arc?
For me, I thought it was fine. Yeah. It was a good film. It's nothing that I feel the need to rewatch, to re-examine. Arc is a film that it's a science fiction film that deals sort of with time. And there's a guy who's played by Robbie Amell from The Flash, who wakes up in bed with a woman, Rachel Taylor. Most people know her from Jessica Jones. He's replaying the same moment over and over again. Every time he dies, he gets only so far until he dies, and the day starts over in a Groundhog Day sort of way. And as you go through the film, you start to learn more about how it happens. There's actually a border by which, if you go past it, the effect of the machine no longer works. So there's some really interesting aspects to the film, and it's fun. It's fun in a similar vein of, I can't think of the other Netflix film you gave me that had. He played Louise.
Michael
Pena, where there's some interesting ideas in here, and it's worth seeing. Whether you need to rewatch it or not, that's sort of up to the viewer. For me, it was good, and there's nothing wrong with just a good film. Mm-hmm. I would definitely recommend it as hey, if you're in the mood for something that's, say, less thoughtful than Primer, but deals with certain similar elements. Check this out.
No, it's got a solid cast. We're not giving any more.
We're not giving any more Primer time.
To it.
Yeah, I know.
All right,
lost to time.
That's it, man. That is it for this episode of The Cinnamon, sir.
It was a great episode. I feel cathartic having discussed all this horror.
I will put this in the top 1 of episodes of Cinnamon.
Chronologically, I'll put it as the most recent.
We will be back hopefully with maybe 2 episodes next month. We'll see what the schedule
I'm hoping.
has. We'll see what
God,
the
I'm
schedule
so
has.
hoping.
So
I
am
miss
I,
this.
sir. So am I. Until then, you guys go back and re-listen to old episodes if you miss us, and then tell all your friends about us too.
Absolutely.
And so we'll take it easy, and we'll see you next time around.
Later.